Fear stops us from achieving our true greatness. Are you a professional woman who is feeling stuck, unmotivated, or burned out? Are you worried about your wellness? Are you letting fear stop you from crushing your goals? If you answered yes to any or all of these, then this is the podcast for you. Dr. Charmaine Gregory, night shift emergency physician, burnout thriver, and wellness champion, along with everyday heroes just like you, will explore how to face fear in our lives and emerge victoriously.
Hey, thanks for checking out this episode. Be sure to click the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you get notified when the next video comes out. It only takes 2 seconds to make 2 clicks. So let's do it. Let's get back to the video. Hello. Welcome to the Fearless Freedom with Dr. G podcast. I am doing a episode today. Very spontaneous. You're getting the live, raw content right as it's being recorded. So if you are joining on any of the platforms, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and let's see where else, YouTube, then welcome to the podcast. If you are brand new, we have no idea what this podcast is, who I am a emergency physician who is a mom to 3 amazing cherubs, wife to an incredible scientist and entrepreneur. And I made a decision some years ago to face my fear of public speaking by starting this podcast in the hopes that I'd be able to encounter individuals just like you who are facing fear and are willing to tell the tale. And so I am super grateful. This month, December, marks the 3-year anniversary of the podcast. And it is absolutely exciting to see the progress of the show, the impact of the show, and the fact that, we have been in it every single week for the past 3 years. And that in and of itself is a huge testimony, because if you know anything about podcasting, you know that most podcasts go into pod fade, unfortunately, where literally after episode 5 or 7, the podcast fades away into the ether. And so that is a testament of our staying power. It is also a testament of the fact that when we talk about what we're facing and we talk to others about that same thing, it resonates and speaks volumes and is something that is meaningful and of value. And when something's of a value, it's going to continue to be there because it's serving a purpose, it's serving a cause. And so even though I started a podcast out of selfish reasons, which is facing my own fear of public speaking, it has morphed into something absolutely wonderful. And if you listen to the podcast, you know that we touch on all aspects of life. We have all kinds of guests on the show. And the one thread that is absolutely common and absolutely human is that we all have fear, right? And we all have fear to face. And so this is why we come back every week on the Fearless Freedom with Dr. G podcast, because we want to make sure that you know that your story is you're not alone. Like, we all are facing fear, and there's always ways forward and ways in which we can face that fear safely and have an amazing outcome, usually, which is incredible growth. So if you're watching this, then if you're listening, this may be difficult, but if you're watching this, you will see that I have a background that is up. I'm trying something new. I am recording this and actually live streaming it to the multiple platforms utilizing StreamYard. So shout out to Gage and the team at StreamYard. Shout out to StreamYard. Woo! Okay. I don't have extra sounds. There you go. That's my extra sound. And so basically I am trying the new feature, which is the green screen. And so I took a photo, and I've been taking photos lately of the beach because I'm like, I don't know, maybe a little obsessed with it. But since we moved to Guam, been able to have an opportunity to go to the beach whenever and whenever we want, which is amazing, amazing gift, and we are extremely grateful for that. And so this is one of the beaches where we typically go. And so as you can see, the water is nice and calm, and the water is also pretty transparent. You can actually see that you could be literally close to the shore here, and you'll see fish flying by, not flying by, but swimming by. And that is super neat to me. Like I just like I marvel every single time I see that. And so I wanted to share this with you because literally, right? Like, this is our big adventure 2021. Like, so if you have never been on the show, you don't know anything about me. I just told you a quick synopsis of why the show got started and who I am. But you may not know that last year, right around October, this is in the middle of everything, like in October 2020, we made a decision that we were going to essentially expatriate. And we looked all over the place, and we landed on our new home, which is Guam. And it has been an amazing, amazing, amazing adventure, this big adventure 2021. And it is something that required our entire family to face fear, right? Because we were headed into the unknown. We had never visited Guam before moving here. I had never visited the hospital where I was working. It was truly a leap of faith and a huge, 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 huge testimony of facing fear and the amazing things that can happen as a result. All right. So I shared with you our big move, right? So we did this in February. We've been here now for the greater part of like 11 months, right? So that is essentially now you're like getting to the point where you're a resident of the place. And we are super grateful for our new home. And that's why I like to share photos of it. So here in the background, like I said, this is one of our favorite beaches. This is Matapong Beach. And it is part of Tumon Bay, which if you can see, I don't know if you can see this, but like out there, oops, I have to get used to the screen. So I'm pointing for those who are listening. Those who are watching can see where my finger is pointing, but like right there, which is a great distance out, it says probably like I don't want to say half a mile out, but it's far out. This is where you see the waves breaking. That is actually where the reef is located. So the reef is far out, and it basically surrounds this whole part of the island. And it allows for there to be these very calm bays. Okay. Now, this is a great place for you to face a fear. Okay. So I'm going to tell you the newest fear that I'm facing and how it's going. So I decided, okay, living on an island, we go down to like, I will drop the children at school. So their school is literally like up the hill from this beach. They can see this beach from their school. It's really, really, really cool. And so, anyway, drop them at school and then head down to this beach just to kind of have some, time to think, etc. Sometimes create content. Never not have an opportunity to do that, right? Like I always take advantage of that. And so, so be there. I was down there one day and literally, I would see people in the water and I saw, somebody getting a swimming lesson. And actually, it was a group of children getting swimming lessons. And I marveled at that because I was saying to myself, wow, swimming lessons in the ocean, like that's ballsy. Okay. And so it so happened that people are very friendly here, and it doesn't matter like who you are, what your status is or anything like that. People just talk to people. And so I'm having a conversation with somebody, and it turns out that her daughter is taking the swim lesson. And so we're chatting and everything. And then she introduces me to the swim teacher she's a swim coach. And so then we have a conversation, and we're talking mainly about how do I get my children to be a part of this learning in the ocean. And then it evolves to, okay, well, if your children are learning, why don't you learn also? And it never dawned on me that that was a thing that I could as an adult, right? Like you're stuck in your ways, you have your old habits. And I have many, as I'm sure many of you do, if you're in my generation. Basically, she's like, oh yeah, I can just come and take your lessons. And so I have to tell you that when she said that, I was afraid. Like that fear in that pit in my stomach just ignited and was completely, on fire and alive. Okay. And I have learned over the years in this journey of facing fear and understanding that as long as that fear is not something that is going to cause you imminent harm and danger, then it is definitely worth exploring the opportunity. Why? Because when you have that feeling, that is your litmus test that your brain is saying, oh my goodness, this is outside our comfort zone. Let's not do this. If you push past that, and again, the caveat is it's not something that's going to be acutely dangerous to you. If you push past that, what happens is absolutely nothing short of incredible, right? Because you then begin to grow in some immense ways. So when she said it, I had that pit and I was like, oh no, here we go again, facing another fear, right? And so I said yes. And I have to tell you that I never imagined that at 46 years old, I would number one, be living on the island of Guam, number two, be serving the incredible people of Guam in the emergency department, and number three, learning to swim in the ocean, specifically the Philippine Sea. Like, if anybody told me that in 2021, those things were going to be happening, I would basically look at them cross eyed because I would not believe it. So, we have had several lessons now in the ocean, and it has been absolutely amazing. I have learned how to float for the first time in my entire life. Usually I panic and I feel like I'm sinking to the bottom and it's like a no game. But I am learning to relax in the water. I'm learning how to control my body in the water. And I am also learning not to get distracted by the beautiful fish that swim by when I have my head in the water during some class. The other day, she was showing us how to position ourselves and really relax our body so that we would, be on the surface of the water. And the trick that she shared was it's all in relaxing your neck. And I did not think that that was a thing, but oh my goodness, it is such a thing because the moment that I relax my neck and put my head down in the water, and I'm showing you guys, I'm pretending like there's water here, and I put my head down immediately, my feet and my body, my lower body comes up to the surface. It's the most incredible thing. The moment I do that, I put my head down and relax and just like be in the water is the more I am able to control my breathing, to also control my movements, like my arms, my legs, where my torso is going. It is absolutely phenomenal. I never would have thought that I would be able to do that. The whole old, can't teach an old dog new tricks type deal. And then the second thing is, so the other day she's like, okay, hey doc, put your head in the water. Okay, relax your neck. Okay. And I'm doing it and I'm like focusing on, getting my elbow up and like sweeping the water and bringing my arm down to my thigh and, turning my, like all the steps. Cause of course in my head, I'm going through every single step and instruction that she's giving me as I'm doing the drills. And I literally saw the most beautiful fish swim by. The fish was a good sized fish. The thing was like probably, I would say it had to be at least a foot long, and it was camouflaged. So it was literally like, so if you're looking at this video, you could see that the sand is very visible through the water. And it's like the fish was camouflaged as the color of sand. But obviously, if you're looking into the water, you can actually see the fish. And so the fish is not little, but the fish like swims by, and I'm like, oh my gosh, look at the fishy. And I turn my head and I totally like lost focus of what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, you're supposed to keep your head down and relax. And I'm like too busy looking at the fish. And so, what am I doing? I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. And I get up and I'm like, I'm so sorry. I got distracted by this amazing fish that decided to like kind of look up. The fish was kind of looking up at me like, what are you doing, human? Like, why are you even here? And so the fish is like, this incredulous look on its face. And I'm like, oh my gosh, look at the fish, and it was a really funny moment. Hopefully I've conveyed the vision to you if you're listening, and hopefully you're visualizing it, if you're watching, because you can see the water and you can kind of get a sense of what I'm describing. But, if I had not decided to face my fear of swimming in the ocean, I would never have had that experience. And I feel like it's enriching when you do things like that. So, I wanted to share that story about my swim lesson and how I got distracted by the really cool fish that came by, looking at me like, "Human, what are you doing? What are you doing, human? Why are you here?" And so that's just one of the things. So, that has opened up a tremendous amount of growth in my life, also in my husband's life, because he is now doing this with me. We're doing it together. And so, basically, there I am learning something at 46, like I said, that I wouldn't have ever dreamt of learning, swimming in the ocean. Okay. And fish are going by and distracting me. And I am like mesmerized by nature when I should be focusing on what I need to be doing to master the skill that I'm learning. Right. But it was all good because obviously we do everything in shallow water. So the other thing that we learned is that there is sometimes a current that is involved here, right? Which you would not expect if you were in a pool, right? Because obviously that's like, there's a pump and everything, but the water is not a moving force. So the last couple of times that we were out, there was a current, and you literally on some days could see the current flowing. It was almost like you're watching a river. It was the most incredible thing. And she had us swimming against this current. So literally, I am doing the drill and I am feeling myself moving in the opposite direction of where I would like to go. And she was teaching us this and having us do this, not because she wanted us to have a better workout, which it did give us a more intense workout, but she wanted us to be able to feel that pull, recognize the pull, and then know exactly what to do in order to get out of that. So, yet another skill set that comes from learning to swim in the ocean. And I had no idea. I had no idea. And then the other lesson that we learned is that you need to really be mindful of the tide watch. Okay, so before going out, you should make sure that you are aware of what's going on with the tide, because sometimes there may be like a storm out at sea and the tide is going to be abnormally high. And obviously, those are days when it's not safe to go out because number one, the water is going to cover the sand. Like this last week when we had the tide watch, literally the water came all the way up onto the sand, and areas where you'd be able to walk along the beach were no longer existent. Like literally it was just ocean. So not a good day to go out on the ocean because that would be extremely dangerous, and we don't want to do anything that's going to compromise our life, right? And so I learned that. So I learned how to not panic when you're caught in the what is this? I guess it's like the current. When you get caught in the current, I'm learning how to not panic and how to like have some survival skills related to that. And I'm learning that I can observe nature without getting completely distracted from my drills. I'm also learning that I can absolutely learn how to swim even at the age of 46. And then I'm learning that it's very imperative to do the tide watch before heading out to the beach for safety purposes, because we want to be able to enjoy our island and not have to have any tragedy occur as a consequence of activities they're participating in. So, yeah, so that was my whole facing my fear of swimming in the ocean story. Now, here's another thing. So, this past weekend was a very busy weekend. My husband is joking because he said, "Oh my gosh, I have literally been to the beach every single day for the last 7 days." He's not complaining. He was just like marveling at the fact that he was able to do that in December when before we've lived in Michigan. And so that was not possible unless we were on vacation in Mexico or something. And so we went out on a boat ride to basically outside of the bay, and so we went out there in the hopes of getting some snorkeling in, and also to hopefully see some wildlife, some marine life, so like dolphins, turtles, etc. And so we're out there, have some activities that are associated with the ride. So they have something called a banana boat. And I don't know if there are any Filipinos out there, any Pacific Islanders are out there listening to this, but you probably know exactly what this banana boat is, right? This person here that's talking to you had no idea what this banana boat was. But you know what? As always, I'm like, well, this is not something that's going to be acutely dangerous to me. I'm going to give it a try, even though I'm a little bit fearful. Okay. So, again, assessing the situation and then trying the thing, even if you're afraid. And so we get out there. So this banana boat, it's like literally looks like a banana. It's an inflatable boat, and it's tethered to the boat, the motor boat that we're on, or yacht, or whatever the thing is. I don't know what it's called, but it's tethered to this. And so we were like, okay. So my son gets on there. We're told not to go in the front because it's kind of like when you ride a roller coaster. And by the way, those roller coasters for me are kind of like not as pleasant as they used to be when I was a kid. That whole vestibular system getting messed up as you get older just puts a monkey wrench in that program. So there we are, and he is like, he gets on and he's like, okay, we're not gonna get in the front. So he gets in the back. And so he gets in the back, and then I get in the seat next to him. So this banana boat is not a single banana boat. There's like two bananas. Okay. They're right next to each other, parallel. And then the thing is tethered. So it fits like 12 to 14 people. And so then the thing is tethered to the boat that takes you out. And so the water, as we're going out, was pretty choppy. So the waves were bigger, and of course the boat itself, as it's cutting through the waves, is also creating waves. For all the geeks out there, all the interference of wave function, physics, yeah, ring a bell. And so so the thing is like, we're jumping, we're getting airborne a few times. And I'm like, okay, I'm holding on to, because you have a bar that you hold on to. It's like a bar, but like it's a inflatable bar, or inflatable handle's a better word. So I'm holding on to this handle, right? And I'm like holding on very, very tightly. And I'm feeling my hand start to cramp. And I'm like, oh no, this is not good. So then what I do is I had an overhand grip, and then I had to do like an underhand grip just to make sure that I stayed holding on. And in the meantime, I'm like looking back and I'm asking my son, like, hey, are you okay? And as we're like, jumping waves, and everybody's like, screaming, kind of like on a roller coaster. But everything was cool. We didn't see any dolphins at that time. We didn't see any turtles at that time. I was actually too focused on making sure that I held on and didn't fall off this boat in the middle of the ocean. Okay. So that was my deal. So everything went fantastic. We went out to an area where we are able to dock the boat, and then we got to do some snorkeling, hang out on the swim mat, and just have a really, really fun time. And it is very different being out in that deep water, because I'm like, wow, I look down and I could see the fish and I could see all of that. But then I can also see that the bottom is a good distance down. And in my head, I'm like, okay, yeah, I can't just put my feet down like when I'm at swim class and we're in the bay near the shore. I can't just do that. Like I have to tread water or I have to like swim or I have to get myself to the tether to the boat or I have to like be by the swim mat, but so in my mind, all of these things are happening. That fear is coming again, and I'm having to, fight through it and figure out ways in which to continue to face this fear. And so it was very, very enlightening experience just being out there in deep water, near the boat and everything. So we get ready to come back, and another group of our party decide they're going to get on the banana boat. So now what I didn't know, and pretty much everybody on the boat knew this except me, maybe my hubby too, but they go faster for the return trip. Like that is the fastest, roughest trip, right? And I did not know this, but like I said, if you're Filipino, you're Pacific Islander, you probably already know this. The whole goal of the banana boat is to dump you off into the ocean. I was like, what? Like, if you told me that before I got on the thing, I don't think I would have got on to things. So it's probably good that I didn't know that. So now this final group, as we're headed back in, they're getting like the boat's going faster now, right? Because it's like going the opposite direction and it's going towards the shore and well towards the marina. And they're like turning and everybody's like, holding on to the banana boat. And then don't you know, we get just a little bit outside of the marina and everybody on one side of the boat just like dumps off the boat. And we're like, oh my gosh, we lost like 6 people. Of course, everybody's wearing a life vest. So safety first, always. But they were just like, oh yeah, that's the whole point of the banana boat. I was like, what? Nobody said that before. What is the matter with you people? But it was all in good fun. And so the boat now has to turn around and like retrieve everybody out of the water. And it was a lot of fun and everybody was fine, but it was just so funny because I was like, what do you mean that's the goal? This is crazy, but it's just one of the ways in which you have fun, right? Kind of like if you're on a jet ski and you wipe out, it's the same deal, but only this is like an inflatable boat that's being pulled by a bigger boat. So I don't know. Maybe you've experienced the banana boat experience. If you have, fantastic. I had not. That was my first time. And it was a ton of fun. So I am telling you this because had I not been walking on the beach that day, had I not inquired about the cherubs swimming in the ocean, getting a lesson, had I not, gone against, well, not against, but had I not followed my litmus test of fear, which is the gut feeling in my stomach, oh my gosh, this is not going to be like in your comfort zone type deal. Had I not done any of those things, had I not talked to Coach Lonnie and Coach Pilar, had I not signed up for the cherubs to get their lesson, had I not signed up for us to get our lesson, we would never have had that experience. And then here's the best part. We're coming back, as I said. So we had that whole thing with the banana boat and losing the one whole side of the occupants of the boat into the ocean and having to retrieve them. The next thing that happened was we were headed back and we were starting to play music. And so they played Electric Slide. Then they played the Cupid Shuffle. And so everybody is, dancing and, doing the Cupid Shuffle. Of course, we're like, falling from side to side because, of course, the boat is like this. It's pretty much almost vertical. The top of the boat is like up off of the water and it's like just like going like gangbusters. And so the next thing we notice is a dolphin just like jumps up and goes right by one of the windows on the side of the boat. And so one of our youngest youngest occupants of the boat, I think she's like about 2 years old. She was like, "Oh my gosh, the dolphin, the dolphin!" And so we're like, everybody's now like excited. So this is like a fever pitch of excitement because we wanted to see marine life. Like that was part of, the hope of going out into deep water like that. So then the dolphins all come out and they're jumping waves and they're getting close to the boat and they're participating. And then we noticed somebody said, okay, they turn the music off, so we can focus on this. And as soon as we turned off the Cupid Shuffle, you would not believe this, but the dolphins, they went away. Then we turned it back on and they came right back. It was the most fun thing ever because I think what was happening was they were sensing the bass in the music and that was what was attracting them. But it was so amazing just seeing them jump and they were all together jumping and they were really 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 cool animals because they're so sentient. So, yeah, so all those things would never have been an experience if I had not faced my fear initially and made a decision to learn to swim. Hey, it's Dr. G, and I just wanted to take a quick moment to thank you for listening to this episode. I'm so honored to have you here with me. Did you know that I can help you to get your own podcast started? With my podcasting launch course for professionals, I walk you through everything you need to know about starting a podcast. I'm with you every step of the way from sign up to launching your show with 5 episodes ready to go. There's a done for you version that's also available if you would just rather just do recordings and leave the behind the scenes work up to us, then that one is definitely for you. But either way, we've got your back here at Fearless Freedom with Dr. G. Oh, if you already have a show and you need production services, we have monthly plans available for you. So check out the links in the episode show notes for more information. Let's get back to the show. So I do want to share one more thing that I'm learning. This is my season of obviously trying new things, right? So the bottom line is, try new things, even if you're afraid, because you never know what amazing growth is going to happen as a result. You never know who you're going to meet, whose life you're going to impact. You never know what will be the outcome because I made a decision to learn to swim. I have now gotten to know some incredible, incredible people that I would not have met otherwise. I have had the opportunity to see some incredible things, and it actually opens some additional doors because once I get to the point where I'm better at this particular skill, more than likely the next step is going to be to get dance certified and start diving, which is a huge deal here. There's Palau that's really close, which is a world renowned diving site. So I am very excited about that. So then the next thing that I am literally learning and facing a fear of. So I don't know if you've ever taken a look at the charts. Like if you were to look at your stocks or your bonds and you notice that each stock there's a chart, like a trending chart that goes along with it, and it kind of looks like a foreign language, right? And so I've seen that over the years and I have blindly kind of invested in like your 401k. You just figure out what the risk is and then you pick the combination of risk that fits your stage in life and then you just put the money in there, right? So I never really got engaged in investing. I never really got like fully engaged in the ins and outs of how it works. I just know that like I put the thing in there and it's a long-term situation. It's a long game. It's a marathon. I'm not expecting to have these crazy gains like right away, but over time, the goal is that you will have a steady increase over time. And then, you will have ultimately in the end, the resource in which you can survive financially once you retire. So when somebody said to me, hey, you ever thought about learning to trade? I was like, trade what? Like baseball cards? Like what are you asking me if I have ever wanted to learn how to trade? And they were talking about trading in the markets, right? So trading in the stock market, trading Bitcoin, trading in the foreign exchange market, trading commodities. And I for sure was like, oh, totally fearful. Okay. Like totally fearful. Like the voice that I was hearing was, oh, I don't know. I can't do that. Like I need to be, certified to be able to do something like that. Like I wouldn't trust myself. I think I would lose everything. All of those fearful thoughts came to mind. And so it was pretty ironic that my company, so I have a couple of companies, but my company that's a technology company, but technology not in the sense of like, and people say when I say tell people that it's a technology company, they immediately think about computers and such, but it's not. It's wearable technologies like this right here that I have in my nose. It's my personal spa. I think this one is Relax that I have in place here. It's wearable technologies. It's technologies that allow for you to save on things, right? So like save on travel, which I absolutely love to do, and I love saving while doing that. Uh, Save on your bills because we have a bill negotiation service, and also allows you to have other wearable technologies. So we have a foam. If here's what it looks like. You can see it. Oh, I can't even get it on the screen. Yeah, so we have like this antiseptic foam. Yeah, and it basically like protects your hands for up to 4 hours from microbes, fungi, et cetera, right? So we have all of these technologies, right? So not like bytes and like zeros and ones, but technologies that are practical. So something you could wear to make your personal spa happen, something that you can use to protect your skin, something that you can use to save when you travel, something that you can use to save money on your monthly bills. So I was like, when our CEO was basically stating that he was planning into the financial arena, I was a little bit nervous, particularly because he was talking about a educational platform that teaches you how to trade. Because, like I said, every time I look at a trading chart, whether it's stocks or commodities, whatever it is, it looks like a foreign language to me. And so I was deathly afraid of that. So when we aligned with this company, and there was a lot of fanfare about the launch of this particular service line, I was excited, but I wasn't like convinced. And that's just me being honest because of my fear. And so, I signed up, I became a student, right, on the books, but I never attended any of the classes. I didn't watch any of the videos. And this is in April. So I was kind of like, okay, yeah, yeah. It's one of those things like that's a fear that I'll face at one point, but I'm just not quite ready to face that guy right now. But I'm going to support the company and I'm going to, participate in this, albeit a very passive manner. And so I didn't think too much of it. And then August came around and was talking to some colleagues in the company. And I was talking to this one individual. She's about 24 years old. And she was saying, oh, yeah, she signed up in April, as I did. And she was at the point now where she was making $30,000 for every 30 trading day. And I was like, excuse me, you're making 30,000? And she said, yeah. And I asked her, like, well, how is that happening? How is that even possible? And she basically said, all I did was follow the instructions of the trainers, and I learned the strategies, and then I implemented the strategies. I implemented the risk management, and I implemented the strategies. And before I knew it, there was compounding, and I was at that $30,000 mark. Okay. That's when I was like, a 24-year-old is sitting at home or sitting on their phone and making trade bids, and then often setting and forgetting it. I think she was a scalper. So I think she would be, in and out of the market pretty briefly on 5-minute intervals, and then moving on, like putting in a bunch of trades, pulling them out, taking profit, and then moving on with her day. So maybe she was spending an hour doing this, and she was hitting her daily goal. And of course, over 30-day trading period, she got to 30,000. So I said, okay, it's time for me to forget this fear, face it, and learn how to trade. So that is exactly what I did in September. So in September, I started taking the beginner basics component of the learning platform. And what I love about the platform is that they are very invested in your success. They don't get anything when you trade and you like doing amazing. They don't get a dividend or anything like that. They basically function on the fact that they want you to be successful, because if you're successful, then you will refer others to the platform. You yourself will become very involved in the community, and it will be a win-win for everybody, right? So you'll, be able to, if you apply yourself and you follow the things and you pick the right strategy, you could very well have a nice income stream from this, right? But of course, the disclaimer is that it's really up to you. Nobody can guarantee what you're going to make. It's the same thing like the gym. You don't get a gym membership in January and then expect that you're going to be svelte by June without putting in the time in the gym. So this is like everything else. It's the same thing. You're learning a skill set. So anyway, so she tells me this, and I'm like, okay. So September, I start with the beginner basics, and they are very adamant that you need to make sure that you understand the concepts, the jargon, the nomenclature before you move on to the live classes where you learn strategies. Because what they don't want is for you to go out there unprepared, not ready with a good foundation, and then you become lost, frustrated, and you eventually, disassociate yourself from this skill set learning. And so I really appreciate that about this program. And I really appreciate that there is a community where, I can go and others can go and ask questions at the level where you are and based on the strategy that you're choosing. So very recently, I made my first trade. I was very afraid to do that, even though I was utilizing a what do you call this now? I call it a mock account because it's not real money, but um yeah, so I'll just say it's a mock account. So I was using my mock account, and I made my first trade, and I followed the principles and the strategy of the trainer that I'm following, and I literally had a successful trade. And so it just proved that it worked. And so the thing that there is a huge emphasis on with this is that trading is 90% mindset and 10% skill. And that is so true, because you can get caught up in the moment, right? So say you could get emotional about it, and then you can totally forget your risk management. You can totally forget your strategy points, and you can have kind of like a not so great situation, knowing that there will be losses, and the overall picture is that your net gain is going to be at your target if you follow the rules and you do what you're supposed to do and you have the correct mindset towards it. And so the other day I transitioned to a different strategy. So I was doing one particular strategy and it was working really well, but I wanted to have another strategy where I didn't have to be on my phone and tracking the trades like with the previous one. And so I'm learning a strategy where I literally set it and then I forget it. I go and do stuff and then come back and then check on it. And so I started doing it and I was not following the rules. And you would not believe what happened. I started losing. I started losing trades. And I was like, okay, this is what they're talking about. This is a mindset thing. I could have easily been like, oh, it doesn't work. Look at that. I'm losing. And instead, I went back to the community and I said, what am I doing wrong, guys? Like, I don't understand why I'm losing. And then they pointed out the items that needs to correct. And then boom, there it was. Started taking profit again and started gaining. And so it is just such a huge like lesson in life too, right? Because there are times when you're learning a new skill set and you kind of expect that things are going to happen faster than they do, and you don't want to necessarily go through the journey and the change that needs to occur in order for that thing to become internalized. And that is exactly what I'm experiencing with trading, and it is so much fun. I cannot tell you. And I am just so excited because I know what it means for 2022, because now things are going to start opening up and we're on the side of the world that we want to be on, where we can get to all of our bucket city places to travel. And my vision is to literally be on the beach, spending 20 minutes, half an hour, putting in bids on trades, getting back to the fun, and then checking on it later in the day and taking profit. So that's my vision. So anyway, so these are all the things. Most recently, the two fears that I am facing and the benefits of facing those fears, and how incredible facing your fear can open up opportunities for you. And you would never, never, never expect the things that will happen. So my call to action to you is to try new things, even if you're afraid. Obviously, with the caveat that these are not going to be items that are going to cause you physical or emotional harm. But definitely think about what fear you will face in 2022 and how you will grow incredibly from that fear. Because I am telling you, I am absolutely telling you, there's no point in living this life if you're not going to live this life to the full. And by pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone, that is how you are able to do that. You want to be able to sit in the rocking chair or on the porch or whatever, and look back at your life when you're an elder and have absolutely no regret, because that is what it's all about. So I have literally talked for 45 minutes. Yikes. And I am certain that I did not hit on all the points, but that's okay. I just wanted to make sure that I talked about those two fears that we're facing and give you kind of a little bit of a recap on the year 2021 and how awesome Big Adventure 2021 is going, and how much we absolutely love the people of Guam, the island of Guam, and absolutely are appreciative and grateful for all of the blessings that have come with this year. So I am sending you nothing but good vibes, and I hope that you will be strong, be brave, and unleash your greatness. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Fearless Freedom with Dr. G. Again, I'm Dr. G. And if you like this episode, be sure to subscribe so that you can get notified of when the next episode is going to be. And also, I'll catch you next time. Have a great one. Be strong, be brave, and unleash your greatness.